Alright, what's good everyone? Today we're starting on a new series and it's going to be how to use the machines in the CSB gym. So most of you guys, when they come in, you don't really know how to start or where to start. So today I'm going to be showing you on the first machine, which is the leg press. Let's head straight to it. Alright, so the leg press machine, what is it about? Why do we use the leg press machine? Well, whether you're interested in building bigger legs, stronger legs, or if you just want to tone your legs, this is the machine to go. Alright, so this is really good place to start for beginners, especially if you don't know how to do squats. So coming here to the machine, I'm going to show you first how we're going to set up the machine. Alright, so how do we get started? Sit on the seat, of course. Then we're going to place our legs onto this platform. So a huge part of this exercise is actually where you place your legs, and it really determines which part of your legs will be activated. Of course, your entire quads will always be activated, and most of your leg muscles will always be activated in this exercise. But based on where you put your legs, it can really emphasize one part of the muscle to another. Alright, so if you're just interested in general toning of your legs, then you just have to put your feet in a very neutral position, which I'll show you in a second. Alright, but if you are interested in bodybuilding, you want to hear about this. Alright, so let's get into the small details. Okay, so leg position. So as I said, if you're just doing for general toning purposes, just put your feet about shoulder width apart and around the middle of the platform. Nothing fancy, and this will do you good. Of course, if you want to emphasize on different parts of your legs, this is where it gets a bit more complicated. Basically, the wider you put your legs, the more glutes you activate and the less quads you will use. On the other hand, if you go narrower, you're going to use more quads, and you're going to use a bit less glutes. Okay. On the other hand, if you move your feet up, you're actually going to be hinging more around your hip, so you're going to activate more of your hamstrings and your glutes. But if you go down on the platform, you're going to activate more quads. So those are simple rules. It's actually not that complicated. And we're going to start just by a simple right in the middle, right here. Okay? So you don't want to be seated out on the seat here. You want to be seated as far back as you can. So get yourself into a nice position where you're exactly at the back, and this is for you to hold and push against just in case you slide away like this. So put yourself here. Now come around, and you can see that my knees are pointing in the same direction as your toes. As with any lower body exercise, it should always track over the toes. Okay? So my feet are shoulder width apart. My feet is in the center of the platform, and we are about ready to push. Alright, after foot placement, before we move on to the weights, actually what we're going to do is we're going to go through the form. So the next thing after you decide where you put your foot is actually how low you put this. And one common mistake I see is that people start off way too high. So what's going to happen is that when you start off way too high, you're just going to do half reps like this. And this is not going to benefit you at all. So you want to do a full range of motion. So you want to put this sled as low as possible. So if you can, put it on the lowest one, and it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable at first because you're really tight up here like this. But after you get into the 90 degrees position, then you're going to feel more comfortable. Alright, so remember, the second thing to remember is to where you put this sled. Alright, the next thing is of course what you're doing as you press, and it's very important. Okay, so I'm about to do the leg press. What you're going to do is you're going to breathe in, tense up your core, alright, and then you can hold the handles here and you push. So when you push, you want to use the driving powers from both your hips and your quads. So up like this, and as you're pressing, you want to squeeze the quads. Remember, this is a legs exercise, so the important thing is to squeeze the quads. And you're going to press through either your heels or the midfoot. The last thing you want to do is to be pressing through the front of your feet. Alright, so I don't want to see any of you guys doing this with the leg press and then you're doing on your tiptoes, and you're going to ruin your leg like this. So feet flat, press. I like to actually come up like this, so I know that I'm really pressing through my heels. And then the next thing to note, alright, remember, don't lock out your knees at the end. So locking out would look like this. So this is a horrible habit, and I see a lot of people doing this. So this thing can cause a few problems. Firstly, it's going to cause you long-term knee problems, because when you lock out your legs like that, all the weight that you're pressing here is transmitted through the bone. Alright, so you want to be slightly bent so that you're using your muscles to actually hold the tension. Alright, the second thing that, of course, if the weight is too heavy, first time trying, maybe you go a little bit crazy, you're feeling crazy today, what you do is you press, and as you're extending, fully extending like this, your knee might hyperextend, and then you're going to end up in one of those gym fail videos. So don't do that. Alright, so I'm going to perform a few reps, and you're going to see how I do it, and I'm going to narrate over it. Okay, so with a good light weight starting out, of course, you see my feet is positioned shoulder width apart, and then it's in the center of the platform. So I'm going to press through, squeezing with my quads as usual, coming down, going slow, feeling the tension on the quads, coming up, squeezing, and it's okay to shake because the more you shake, it means you're really squeezing your quads right there, and come down. Remember, before you press, breathe in, hold your breath, squeeze your abs, press, exhaling on the way up, and then again, down. Alright, we're going to end off the video with some general tips. The first tip, of course, is that everyone's body size is different, so you really have to adjust the machine until you really feel like you're really working your quads. One important point to note is that if you're shorter, alright, if you put your feet in the center, you're just going to end up doing half reps. So, for example, like this, even if your sled is low, but if your legs are short, you're just going to end up doing this half reps. So, if you're shorter, you go ahead and put your feet slightly lower, like this. Okay? That's tip number one. So, alright, tip number two, right, is when you're pressing, make sure that you want to keep your knees in line with your toes. And I think that's really important, whether you're squatting or you're doing leg press. You know, if you want to prevent injury and you want to produce the maximum amount of force, what you want to do is you really track your knees over your toes. So what do I mean by this? If you see my feet from the upper angle, like this, and my knees in the frame, alright, so as I'm pressing, I don't want my knees to be in like this. So if you see this, if you can see, if I put a line here and a line to my feet, they're completely out of line. So you want to adjust it like this. Make sure the knees follow in the same direction, like that. Yep. And that was probably the machine breaking. Alright, the third thing is how many sets, how many reps. I always get that question. Alright, so there isn't really a very good general guide because it really depends on person to person. But I would say if you want to build strength, you want to stay within the rep ranges of anywhere from 4 reps to 8 reps. If you're doing for muscle building, hypertrophy, I would recommend anywhere from 8 to 12. And then if you want to build endurance, or if you want your thighs to be more toned, you do from 8 to 20, 12 to 20. Sorry. So this is a general guideline and it doesn't really apply for everyone, but this is what I would advise a general client. Okay, the next question, of course, would be how long do I rest in between sets? Of course, this will vary once again from person to person, but I recommend anywhere from 1 minute of rest to 2 minutes of rest. You can take 2 minutes of rest if either you're a beginner or if you're doing strength sets and you need that time for your energy to replenish. Okay, I think I've covered most of what you need to know for the leg press, but of course if you have any questions, you can reach me at my Instagram. So stay tuned for next week's video, which will be on the next machine, which is a mystery. So see you guys.